The Galactic Council had existed for longer than most stars. It was old. It was powerful. It had seen empires rise and fall like waves on an endless ocean. In its great hall made of crystal that sang with the light of 1,000 suns, the 12 elders gathered to discuss the business of the universe. Today was supposed to be a normal day. Ambassador Telos walked into the chamber with a small device in his hand. He was from the Veth Collective, a species of tall beings with skin like polished silver and eyes that glowed soft blue. He had been an ambassador for 300 years, and in all that time, he had never felt nervous about a simple report. But something about today felt different. He could not say why. "Elders," he said, bowing his head in respect, "I bring news of a discovery. Our long-range sensors have detected a civilization in an uncharted region of the galaxy." This was not unusual. The Council discovered new civilizations all the time. There were billions of stars, and many of them had planets, and many of those planets had life. The universe was full of life. It was everywhere like dust, like light. Elder Myra leaned forward. She was the oldest of the elders, a being made of living crystal that had been alive for nearly 4 million years. Her body caught the light and scattered it into rainbows across the floor. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. "Tell us about this civilization," she said. Telos activated his device. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a small blue planet, covered in water and green land, circling a yellow star. "The planet is located in what the locals call the Orion Arm," Telos explained. "It is a quiet region. Not much happens there. The star is young, only about 5 billion years old. The planet is the third from the star." The elders watched with mild interest. The planet was pretty, they supposed. Blue was a nice color. "The dominant species calls themselves humans," Telos continued. "They are bipedal, carbon-based, and have an average lifespan of approximately 80 years. 80 years. Elder Corin made a sound of surprise. He was a large creature, shaped like a cloud of golden jelly. How do they accomplish anything in such a short time? "They move quickly," Telos said. "Very quickly. They went from basic agriculture to space travel in less than 10,000 years. This caught the attention of several elders. Most species took at least 100,000 years to reach space. Some took millions of years. 10,000 years was almost unheard of. "Interesting," Myra said softly. "What else do you know about them?" Telos pulled up more data. Images of human cities appeared. Great towers of glass and steel. Bridges that crossed impossible distances. Vehicles that moved on the ground, in the water, and through the air. "They are creative," Telos said. "They make art, music, stories. They seem to have a deep need to create things." "All sentient species create things," Elder Voss pointed out. He was the military advisor, a being covered in thick armor plates that could stop most weapons. "That is not special." "No," Telos agreed. "But they also destroy things. They fight wars with each other, terrible wars. They have weapons that can burn entire cities in seconds." The chamber grew quiet. "They fight among themselves?" Corin asked. "Why?" "We are not sure. They seem to disagree about many things. Resources, territory, ideas. They have thousands of different groups, different nations, different beliefs. They cannot agree on anything." Elder Myra studied the images of Earth. She saw the cities, yes, but she also saw the green forests, the blue oceans, the white clouds. It was a beautiful world. "What do they call their planet?" she asked. Telos checked his notes. "They have many names for it. In their most common language, they call it Earth." "Earth." The word meant nothing to the council. It was just a sound, just a name, like a billion other names for a billion other worlds. Myra let it roll through her crystal mind and then let it go. "I recommend we send an observation probe," Telos said. "Standard procedure. We watch them for a few centuries, learn their ways, and then decide if we want to make contact. The elders nodded. This was how it was always done. New species were fragile things. Contact too early could destroy them. Contact too late could make them hostile. The council had learned patience over the ages. All in favor? Myra asked. 12 hands, tentacles, and appendages rose into the air. The motion passes. Ambassador Telos, you will oversee the observation. Report back to us in 100 years. Telos bowed, as you wish, Elder. And that should have been the end of it. A small discovery, a routine vote, a standard observation mission. The council had done this thousands of times before. In 100 years, they would learn about the humans, and then they would decide what to do. Maybe they would make friends. Maybe they would keep watching. Maybe the humans would destroy themselves before contact could be made. It happened sometimes. But as Telos left the chamber, Myra remained in her seat. She stared at the hologram of Earth, unable to look away. There was something about that blue world, something she could not name, a feeling in her crystal bones, if she could be said to have bones. She had lived for 4 million years. She had seen wonders beyond counting. She had watched stars born and stars die. She had spoken with beings of pure energy and beings made of living stone. Nothing surprised her anymore. And yet, that little blue planet, circling its little yellow star, made her feel something she had not felt in a very long time. She felt afraid. She did not know why. The humans were young and primitive. Their ships could barely leave their own moon. They posed no threat to the council. They posed no threat to anyone except themselves. But fear does not always make sense. Sometimes it comes from deep places, from old memories, from things forgotten but not gone. And Myra was very, very old. She had forgotten more than most species would ever learn. Somewhere in that vast ocean of forgotten memories, something was stirring. Something was trying to wake up. She looked at Earth one more time. Such a small world, such a fragile people. What could possibly be dangerous about them? She pushed the fear away and left the chamber. She had work to do. The universe did not stop for feelings. But that night, for the first time in 10,000 years, Myra dreamed. And in her dream, she saw the blue planet. She saw it crack open like an egg, and from inside something looked at her. Something that had been waiting for a very long time. She woke up screaming. And she knew, with a certainty that went beyond logic, that she needed to visit the archives. She needed to know more about that little blue world called Earth. She needed to know what was buried there. The eternal archives existed at the center of a dying star. This was not a metaphor. The archives were literally built inside a star that had stopped burning millions of years ago. Its cold heart had been hollowed out and filled with the largest library in the known universe. Myra traveled there alone. She told no one where she was going. She told no one about her dream. Dreams were for children, not for elders who had lived for 4 million years. But she could not forget the image of that blue planet cracking open. She could not forget what she had seen crawling out. The journey took 3 days. When she arrived, the archive's guardian met her at the entrance. His name was Pilho, and he was one of the last of his kind. His body was made of pure thought given physical form. He looked like a man made of silver smoke. "Elder Myra," he said, his voice echoing in her mind. "It has been a long time. What brings you to the archives?" "I need information," she said, "about a planet." "We have information about every planet," Pilho said. "Which one?" "A small world in the Orion Arm. The locals call it Earth." Pilho was silent for a moment. His smoky form flickered, which Myra knew meant he was searching through billions of years of records. "Earth," he repeated slowly. "Yes, I see it in the archives. A young world, new life, nothing special." "Then why did it make me dream?" Myra asked. Pilho looked at her with eyes that had no pupils. "You dreamed about a planet. About what was inside it." The Guardian's form went very still. In the silence of the dying star, Myra could hear her own crystal heart beating. "Follow me," Pilho said. He led her deep into the archives. They walked past shelves that stretched for thousands of kilometers, past data crystals older than galaxies, past memories of species that had died before the first stars of this universe were born. The deeper they went, the older the records became. Finally, they reached a door. It was made of a metal that Myra did not recognize. Symbols were carved into its surface, symbols in a language that had been dead for 6 billion years. "This is the forbidden section," Pilho said. "The records here come from before the Council, before most civilizations. They were created by the architects." Myra felt her crystal body go cold. The architects were legends, stories to scare young species. They were supposed to be the first beings in the universe, the ones who mapped the stars and named the galaxies. Some said they had created life itself. Some said they had become gods. Most believed they had never existed at all. "The architects were real?" Myra asked. "Very real," Pilho said. "And they left records. Most are harmless. Star maps, scientific data, history of the early universe. But some records are dangerous. Some records are locked away because knowing them could destroy minds." "Why are you telling me this?" Pilho turned to face her. His silver smoke face looked sad. "Because the planet you are asking about is in this section. Earth has another name, Elder, a name given by the architects themselves, a true name." "Show me." Pilho hesitated. "Are you sure? Some knowledge cannot be unlearned. Some truth breaks those who hear it." "I am 4 million years old," Myra said. "I have survived the death of stars. I have watched civilizations turn to dust. I can handle one name." Pilho opened the door. The room beyond was small and dark. In its center stood a single crystal, glowing with faint light. Myra walked toward it. She placed her hand on its surface, and the name poured into her mind like ice water. The architects had called Earth by its true name, the grave of endless night. And with the name came the memory, the history, the terrible, terrible truth. 6 billion years ago, before the Council, before most life in the universe, there were the Devourers. They were not a species. They were more like a force of nature, a hunger given form. They moved through the young universe, consuming everything in their path. Stars, planets, galaxies. Nothing could stop them. Nothing could even slow them down. The architects fought them. The first war in the history of existence. It lasted for 1 million years. Billions of architects died. Entire star systems were sacrificed. And in the end, even the architects could not destroy the Devourers. So they did the only thing they could. They built a cage. They found a young planet in a quiet arm of the galaxy. They filled its core with energy that could stop anything. They called it nullification energy, and it was the only thing that could put the Devourers to sleep. Then they took the Devourers, all of them, every last one, and they buried them inside that planet. The grave of endless night. "Earth." Myra fell to her knees. Her crystal body cracked from the shock. She could feel the truth burning in her mind, too big, too old, too terrible. "The Devourers are real," she whispered. "They are inside Earth. They have been sleeping there for 6 billion years." "Yes," Pilho said softly, "and the architects believed they would sleep forever. The cage was perfect. Nothing could survive on that planet. The radiation, the gravity, the nullification energy in the core. It was a dead world. It was supposed to stay dead." Myra thought of the humans, their cities, their art, their music, their short, bright lives on a planet that should have killed them. "But life grew there," she said. "Somehow, impossibly, life evolved on the surface of the cage." "Not just any life," Pilho said. "Life that could survive what should be unsurvivable. Life that became strong and fast and smart. Life that conquered a world of endless death and called it home." Myra looked up at the Guardian. "What does this mean? Are the humans dangerous? Are they connected to the Devourers? Pilho shook his head slowly. I do not know. The architects left no records about this. They never imagined life could evolve there. Perhaps the humans are simply lucky. Perhaps they are an accident of nature, a miracle of survival. Or perhaps they are something else, Myra said. Perhaps they are wardens, guardians created by the universe itself to watch over the cage. Perhaps, Pilho agreed. Or perhaps the cage is weakening. Perhaps the Devourers are waking up. And perhaps the humans are not wardens at all. Myra felt the fear again, stronger than before. The same fear from her dream. What are they, then? Pilho looked at her with ancient, sad eyes. Perhaps they are what comes after. Perhaps they are the children of the Devourers, shaped by the energy of that terrible prison. Perhaps they are the next evolution of the hunger that nearly destroyed everything. Myra stood up. Her body was cracked and damaged, but her mind was clear. I have to tell the council, she said. They need to know what we have found. Yes, Pilho agreed. But be careful, Elder. Fear makes people do terrible things, and the council has enough power to destroy that little blue world. If they panic, they might do something that cannot be undone. Myra nodded. She walked toward the door, carrying the weight of 6 billion years of secret history on her shoulders. Thank you, Pilho, she said, for showing me the truth. Truth is not always a gift, Pilho replied. Sometimes it is a curse. Myra left the archives and began the long journey back to the council. She had no idea what she was going to say. She had no idea how the others would react. But she knew one thing for certain. Everything was about to change. And somewhere, far away, on a little blue planet circling a little yellow star, a young human named Jiwoo looked up at the night sky and wondered if anyone was out there. She had no idea that the whole galaxy was about to learn her world's true name and start to panic. The emergency meeting was held in the Obsidian Chamber. This room was used only for the most serious matters: wars, plagues, extinction events. The walls were made of black stone that absorbed all light and sound. Nothing said in this room could ever be heard outside. The 12 elders sat in a circle, their faces grave. Myra stood in the center, her cracked crystal body catching the dim light. She had not slept since returning from the archives. She had not eaten. She had only thought about how to explain what she had learned. Thank you for coming, she said. What I am about to tell you will be difficult to hear, but you must hear it. The future of our civilization may depend on it. Elder Corrin shifted his golden jelly body. This is about the humans, is it not? The species from the Orion Arm. Yes, Myra said. And no, it is about their planet. It is about what lies beneath it. She activated a hologram. Earth appeared in the center of the room, blue and beautiful and terrible. I went to the Eternal Archives, Myra continued. I searched for information about this world, and I found something that has been hidden for 6 billion years. The elders leaned forward. 6 billion years was a long time even for them. Earth has another name, Myra said. A true name given by the architects themselves. They called it the grave of endless night. Silence filled the chamber. The elders looked at each other, confused. The architects, Elder Voss said, I thought they were myths. They were real, Myra replied, and they fought a war against something called the Devourers. These beings were not like anything we know. They were hunger itself. They consumed stars, planets, entire galaxies. The architects could not destroy them, so they did the only thing they could. She pointed at the hologram of Earth. They built a cage. They filled the planet's core with energy that could put the Devourers to sleep. Then they buried the Devourers inside that cage. Earth is not just a planet. It is a prison, the most important prison in the history of the universe. Elder Corrin made a sound of disbelief. You are saying that monsters from ancient times are buried inside that little world, and the humans are living on top of them. Yes. That is impossible. Nothing could survive on a world like that. The energy you describe would kill any living thing. Myra nodded slowly. You are right. Nothing should be able to survive there. The architects designed it that way. They never imagined that life could evolve on the surface of the cage, but it did. She pulled up the data on humans, their biology, their history, their strange, impossible survival. Look at them, she said. Really look. Their planet has tried to kill them in every way possible. Ice ages, meteor strikes, earthquakes, volcanoes, diseases, predators, and they survived all of it. They did not just survive, they conquered. They became the dominant species on a world that should have been a graveyard. Elder Voss studied the data. His armored face showed no emotion, but his voice was troubled. Their bodies are 60% water. Water is a solvent. It should destroy them from the inside. But it does not. They breathe oxygen. Oxygen is a corrosive gas. It should burn their lungs. But it does not. They live under a star that bombards them with radiation. They should all have cancer. Some of them do, but many do not. And here is the strangest part. Myra pulled up another image. It showed humans lying on a beach, their skin turning brown under the sun. They expose themselves to this radiation on purpose. They think it makes them look attractive. The elders stared at the image in horrified silence. They also consume poison for fun, Myra continued. Alcohol, caffeine, capsaicin, substances that would kill most species. They drink them, they eat them, they enjoy them. This is madness, Corin whispered. No, Myra said. This is evolution. They evolved on the grave of endless night. They were shaped by the most hostile environment in the known universe. They became strong because weakness meant death. They became fast because slow meant death. They became smart because stupid meant death. She paused, letting her words sink in. But there is more. There is something I have not told you yet, something that frightens me more than anything else. The elders waited. The energy in Earth's core, the nullification energy that keeps the devourers asleep. It does not just exist in the planet. It exists in the humans too. Elder Voss stood up suddenly. What? I analyzed their biology, Myra said. Deep in their cells, in their very DNA, there are traces of the same energy. Not much, just a little, but it is there. They absorbed it over millions of years of evolution. It became part of them. What does this mean? Corin asked. Myra looked at each elder in turn. Her crystal face was grim. I see three possibilities. The first is that the humans are simply survivors. They adapted to the energy, incorporated it into their bodies, and used it to become stronger. They are innocent. They are just people who grew up in a terrible place. And the second possibility. The second is that the universe created them on purpose. Think about it. The cage needs guards. What better guards than beings who are immune to the very energy that keeps the prisoners asleep? Perhaps the humans are wardens, designed by some cosmic force to watch over the devourers. The elders considered this. It was a comforting thought. Perhaps the humans were protectors. Perhaps they were allies. And the third possibility, Voss asked quietly. Myra's voice dropped to a whisper. The third possibility is that the cage is failing. The devourers are waking up, and the humans are not guards at all. They are the first stage of what comes after. They are the children of the devourers, changed and shaped by millions of years inside the prison. They carry the hunger in their blood. They just do not know it yet. The chamber was silent for a long time. Finally, Corin spoke. What do we do? I do not know, Myra admitted. If the humans are innocent, we should welcome them. If they are wardens, we should help them. But if they are the third thing, then we should destroy them, Voss finished, before they destroy us. We cannot destroy an entire species based on a guess, Myra said sharply. We do not know which possibility is true. We need more information. And while we gather information, The Devourers could be waking up. The humans could be spreading across the galaxy, carrying that ancient hunger with them. That is a risk we must take. We cannot commit genocide because we are afraid. The argument continued for hours. Some elders wanted to attack Earth immediately. Some wanted to quarantine it forever. Some wanted to make contact with the humans and ask them directly what they knew. In the end, they reached no conclusion. They agreed only to increase observation of Earth and to keep this information secret from the rest of the galaxy. But secrets have a way of getting out, and fear has a way of spreading. Within a week, rumors began to circulate. Whispers about a dangerous planet, warnings about a terrible species, stories about ancient monsters waking from their sleep. The galaxy had learned about Earth, and the panic was just beginning. The panic spread faster than light. Within days of the secret getting out, civilizations across the galaxy were in chaos. Species that had been at peace for thousands of years suddenly prepared for war. Trade routes that had connected a million worlds went silent. The great ships that carried goods and people between stars stopped flying. Everyone was afraid, and everyone was afraid of the same thing. Earth. The Galactic Fleet was the largest military force in the known universe. It had 10 million ships. It had weapons that could destroy planets. It had soldiers from 1,000 different species. And now, for the first time in 12,000 years, it moved. But it did not move toward Earth. It moved away. Admiral Dohan stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the fleet form a line across space. Behind that line was Earth and its little yellow sun. In front of the line was everything else, the entire rest of the galaxy, huddling together in terror. "The quarantine zone is established," his second officer reported. 300 light-years in every direction. Nothing gets in or out. "Good," Dohan said, but he did not feel good. He felt like a coward. His entire fleet, the most powerful force in existence, was running away from a planet of primitives. But he had read the reports. He had seen the data, and he understood, even if he did not want to admit it, why everyone was so afraid. It was not the humans themselves. The humans were young and weak. Their ships could barely reach their own moon. They posed no threat to anyone. It was what was inside them. What might be inside them? The possibility, however small, that the ancient hunger was waking up. On the Council's homeworld, the situation was even worse. Delegates from over 6,000 species had arrived for an emergency summit. The great chamber that normally held a few dozen representatives was now packed with thousands. They screamed at each other. They threatened each other. They demanded answers that no one could give. "Destroy them," shouted the delegate from the Harrow cluster. He was a being made of fire and rage, and his flames burned brighter with every word. "Burn their planet before it is too late." "We cannot destroy an entire species," responded the delegate from the Silith. She was made of living water, and her form rippled with anger. "We do not even know if they are dangerous." "We cannot wait to find out. By the time we are sure, it could be too late." Ambassador Telos watched the chaos from a corner of the room. He felt sick. Just weeks ago, he had presented Earth as an interesting discovery, a young civilization with potential. Now that same planet was being discussed as a threat to all existence. Elder Myra stood beside him. Her crystal body was still cracked from her journey to the archives. She had not had time to heal. "This is wrong," Telos said quietly. "We are acting like monsters ourselves." "Fear makes people into monsters," Myra replied. "It is the oldest story in the universe. We are afraid of the unknown, so we want to destroy it. We are afraid of what we do not understand, so we try to control it. But the humans have done nothing wrong. They do not even know we exist." "That does not matter. What matters is what they might do, what they might become," Myra sighed. "The truth is, we are not afraid of the humans. We are afraid of ourselves. We are afraid of what we might do if the Devourers ever wake up." The debate raged for 11 days. Some species wanted to destroy Earth immediately. They argued that the risk was too great. Even a small chance of the devourers returning was unacceptable. Better to kill billions now than to risk trillions later. Other species wanted to study the humans. They argued that the humans might hold the key to fighting the devourers. If humans had evolved to survive on Earth, maybe they had also evolved a resistance to the ancient hunger. Maybe they could be allies, not enemies. Still others wanted to do nothing at all. They argued that the whole thing might be a mistake. The archives were old. The records might be wrong. Perhaps Earth was just a normal planet with normal people, and everyone was panicking over nothing. On the 12th day, something happened that changed everything. A young officer burst into the chamber, her face pale with shock. "Elders," she cried, "a ship has breached the quarantine zone." The room fell silent. "Whose ship?" Myra demanded. "A human ship, Elder. It came from Earth. It passed through our line like we were not even there." Dohan's voice came through the communication system, crackling with static. "This is Admiral Dohan. I do not understand what happened. Our sensors detected the ship too late. Our weapons could not lock onto it. It just passed through." "Is it a warship?" Voss asked. "No, Elder. It is small, very small. Our analysis suggests it carries no more than 7 individuals." Seven humans in a tiny ship had breached a quarantine zone guarded by 10 million warships. "What are they doing?" Myra asked. "They are broadcasting, Elder, on every frequency. They are sending a message." "What message?" There was a pause. When Dohan spoke again, his voice was full of something that might have been wonder. They say they come in peace. They say they want to talk." The chamber erupted into chaos again. But this time it was a different kind of chaos, not just fear, also confusion, also curiosity, also in some faces hope. Myra raised her hand for silence. Slowly, the noise died down. "We have 2 choices," she said. "We can attack this ship and kill these 7 humans. This would show them that we are hostile. If the rest of their species learns of it, they will fear us. They will hate us. And if they are connected to the devourers, that hatred might be the thing that wakes the ancient hunger." She paused. "Or we can talk to them. We can learn what they know. We can find out if they are enemies or friends. This is risky too, but it is a different kind of risk. It is the risk of hope instead of the risk of fear." The delegates looked at each other. 6,000 species, 6,000 different fears, 6,000 different hopes. "I will speak to them," Tella said suddenly. He stepped forward, his silver face determined. "I discovered them. I should be the one to make contact." Myra looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Very well, Ambassador. Open a channel." Telos walked to the communication station. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. "Human vessel, this is Ambassador Telos of the Galactic Council. We are willing to talk." There was static, then silence, then a voice. It was warm, it was friendly. It was completely unafraid. "Hello, Ambassador. My name is Sunwoo. We have been waiting a long time for this moment." And in the great chamber of the Galactic Council, surrounded by 6,000 terrified species, Ambassador Telos did something he had never done before. He smiled. Because in that voice, in that simple greeting, he heard something that changed everything. He heard hope. The human ship drifted slowly toward the council station. It was small, so terribly small compared to the warships that surrounded it, a tiny metal box holding 7 fragile lives. Inside the council chamber, 6,000 delegates watched the viewscreen in silence. The fear was still there. It would always be there, perhaps, but something else had joined it: curiosity, wonder, a desperate, fragile hope. Ambassador Telos stood at the communication station, his silver hands trembling slightly. Elder Myra stood beside him, her cracked crystal body catching the light. Human vessel, Tella said. We are prepared to receive you. Please dock at Station 7. Thank you, Ambassador, the voice replied. It belonged to a woman named Sunwoo. Her voice was calm and warm like sunlight through clouds. We are on our way. The ship docked without incident. The airlock hissed open, and for the first time in the history of the Galactic Council, humans walked among the stars. There were 7 of them, 5 women and 2 men. They wore simple white suits with blue markings. They carried no weapons. They showed no fear. Sunwoo walked at the front. She was tall for a human, with dark hair cut short and eyes that sparkled with intelligence. She looked around the docking bay at the hundreds of alien species staring at her, and she smiled. "Hello," she said. "It is very nice to meet you all." No one spoke. No one moved. They just stared at this small, fragile creature who had traveled across the stars to say hello. Elder Myra was the first to recover. She stepped forward, her crystal form chiming softly. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," she said. "I am Elder Myra. I have many questions for you." "I imagine you do," Sunwoo replied. "We have many questions for you too, but first may I say something?" Myra nodded. Sunwoo turned to face the chamber. 6,000 species watched her. 10 million warships floated outside. The entire galaxy held its breath. "We know why you are afraid," Sunwoo said. "We know about the Devourers. We know about the Architects. We know what is buried inside our planet." The silence in the chamber became absolute. "You know," Myra whispered. "We have known for about 200 years now. Our scientists discovered it when they started studying the deep structure of our planet. They found the cage. They found what was inside it." Sunwoo paused. "We call it the sleeper." "The sleeper," Telos repeated. "Yes, it whispers sometimes. In our dreams, in our thoughts, old hungers, ancient memories. When we first discovered it, we were terrified. We thought we were going to die. We thought the whole universe was going to die." "But you did not die," Myra said. "No," Sunwoo smiled. "We learned to live with it. We learned to ignore the whispers. We built mental defenses, meditation techniques, ways to keep the hunger out of our minds. It was not easy. It took generations, but we survived. That is what humans do. We survive." Elder Corrin floated forward, his golden jelly body trembling. "You are saying that you live with a cosmic horror beneath your feet and you just ignore it." "More or less," Sunwoo said. "We have been doing it since we were children. Every human child has nightmares. Every human child is afraid of the dark. We learn to face our fears. We learn to make peace with the monsters under our beds." She shrugged. "This monster is just bigger than most." The delegates looked at each other in disbelief. This was not what they had expected. They had expected monsters. They had expected threats. They had expected ancient hunger wearing human skin. Instead, they got a woman in a white suit telling them that humans had learned to live with cosmic horror like it was no big deal. "We have another question," Myra said carefully. "A harder question. You said you know about the Devourers. Do you know if they are waking up?" Sunwoo's smile faded. For the first time she looked serious. "Yes," she said. "They are stirring. The cage is weakening, not much, not yet. But in a few thousand years, maybe a few 100,000, they will wake up." Fear rippled through the chamber. Thousands of delegates began to panic. "But," Sunwoo continued, raising her voice, "we are working on it. Our scientists have been studying the cage for 2 centuries. We are learning how it works. We are learning how to strengthen it. And we believe that, with enough time and help, we can keep the Devourers asleep forever." "You want our help?" Voss asked. "Yes, we cannot do this alone. We are just one species on one small planet, but you have millions of species, billions of scientists, technology we cannot even imagine. Together, we could fix the cage. We could make sure the Devourers never wake up." Sunwoo looked around the chamber at all the frightened faces. "We are not your enemies," she said softly. "We are not the children of the Devourers. We are not the next stage of the hunger. We are just people. Scared, hopeful, stubborn people who grew up in the dark and learned to make our own light. She extended her hand toward Myra. We would like to be your friends. We would like to work together. We would like to make the universe a little less dark and a little less scary. Myra looked at the small human hand. Such a fragile thing, such a tiny gesture, and yet it felt like the most important moment in 4 million years. She reached out her crystal arm and took Sunwoo's hand. I think, Myra said slowly, that I would like that too. The chamber was silent. Then slowly Elder Corrin began to laugh. It was a strange sound, rusty and unpracticed. His species had not laughed in centuries. They are insane, he said. Completely, beautifully insane. They live on top of a prison for cosmic horrors and they want to be friends. Is that a problem? Sunwoo asked. No, Corrin replied. It is wonderful. It is the most wonderful thing I have heard in my entire life. One by one, other delegates began to step forward. Hands, tentacles, claws, and appendages reached out toward the 7 humans, first a dozen, then 100, then 1,000. The fear did not disappear. It would never completely disappear, but something else grew alongside it. Trust, hope, the beginning of something new. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. Humans spread across the stars, bringing their strange courage with them. They taught other species how to face fear. They taught them how to laugh at the darkness. They taught them how to find hope even in the most terrible places. And on Earth, the work continued. Scientists from 1 million worlds came to study the cage. They learned its secrets. They strengthened its walls. They made sure that the devourers would sleep for another 1 billion years, and another, and another. 50 years after first contact, a young diplomat named Haeyoung stood before the Unified Council. She was the granddaughter of one of the original 7. She had her grandmother's dark hair and her grandmother's brave eyes. You asked us once what we are, Haeyoung said. Monsters, wardens, something in between. We thought about it for a long time. She paused and smiled. We decided we are none of those things. We are just people who grew up in a scary place and learned not to be scared anymore. We are not special. Anyone can do what we did. Anyone can face the darkness. Anyone can choose hope over fear. She looked out at the thousands of species watching her. The universe is big and dark and full of terrible things, but it is also full of wonder, full of beauty, full of possibility. All you have to do is look for it. She extended her hand, just as her grandmother had done 50 years before. Will you look with us? Elder Myra, ancient and wise and finally healed, was the first to take her hand, and behind her a galaxy followed. The darkness did not go away. The devourers still slept beneath the blue surface of Earth. The universe still held dangers beyond counting. But for the first time in a very long time, nobody was facing those dangers alone. And that made all the difference.